the Young Creatives chat with video game designer and illustrator Richard Hogg.
To begin, tell us 3 things about yourself that if we really knew you, we would know.
Yeah, I've not really been asked a question like this before. I wrote some stuff down. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to say is that I'm really into nature and wildlife, and I think most people who know me know that, and I spend as much time as I can in kind of wild places and nature reserves and places like that, either walking or bird watching. And I also am involved with environmental activism, mainly through Extinction Rebellion. I go on demonstrations and get involved with actions to do with trying to do something about climate change and biodiversity loss. So that's a thing about me that I think lots of people know. Hopefully all my friends know. The second thing about me is that although I'm mostly known as a game designer, my background is through drawing pictures, and that I got into it through well, you know, I went to art college. You know, when I finished school, I went to art college and I studied fine art. I did a degree in fine art. And then the third thing that I think you'd know about me if you really knew me is that I'm obsessed with the video game Tetris. And I play Tetris every single day and have done for years and years and years. And it's the one game that I never get bored of, and I'm always trying to get better at. Yeah.
Very nice.
That's really cool about the Extinction Rebellion. I know my neighbours are like quite active on it, but I think, yeah, it's really cool. Are you like influenced by nature in any of your work, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. And like the game, yeah, like I've made games that do have effectively like creatures in them, animals and wildlife, and also just a sense of like being in places that are quite wild, although it's quite abstract. In the sort of games that I do, it is quite abstracted, I guess.
Yeah, that's not my actual question.
I know, it's a nice
but yeah, how did you know this career was for you?
Yeah, funnily enough, while I was just making a drink before this call, I was thinking about that question, and I was thinking like, how do I know it's, to be honest, I'm just grateful to have any job. I think if you can earn some money and make a living in the world, I think you're lucky. And I've had some jobs that have been less fun than this, and I've also had periods in my life where I've not had much work in the past, and yeah, I'm just grateful to have some work. You know, that people want to pay me money to do stuff. On top of that, though, you know, like I think if you enjoy your job, and I think if you feel like you're good at your job, and I think if you feel like your job is contributing something positive to the world, then it's probably for you, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like if you're passionate about your job, it's really a blessing, and it's like great that you can do something you love.
Yeah.
All right, thus far, what has been the most challenging aspect of your career?
Yeah, okay, so I make video games, and easily the most challenging thing about that for me personally is how long they take to make. Like the game I just finished making took about 3 years, and that's kind of normal for a game. And 3 years is a long time to be working on one project. And there's been times when towards the end of a game, I felt like I'm going a bit mad, because I'm just drawing the same stuff. So, you know, I'm designing the same stuff over and over again, and thinking about the same game, or like play testing it. You know, I spend a lot of time actually just playing the games that I'm working on, to the point where it's not fun anymore. And it's weird because in my life, before I was involved with games, I was more of an illustrator, and nothing I worked on would ever really take longer than about a week, maybe 2 weeks. And then to go from that to something where you're spending like 3 years on a thing, I do find quite, just on a sort of personal level, quite difficult. But I'm getting more used to it, I guess.
Yeah, I can imagine how hard it would be to just put all of this time into one project, and then suddenly at the end of it, it's just not there anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's just out in the world, and then, you know, you don't know how people are going to respond to it, and yeah, it's a lot of time to spend on one thing, definitely.
To like completely and difference to the last question, what has been the highlight of your career?
Yeah. Okay. A personal highlight for me is that a couple of years ago, a game that I made called Wilmot's Warehouse was nominated for an award, and it's the Independent Game Festival, which is a festival that I care about a lot. And it was nominated for their design award, and that meant a lot to me because in the world of video games, when people say design, they don't mean visual design. They mean like the structure of the game, like what the mechanics in the game are, and how you make the game fun or hard or whatever. And it's the first time, because I did all of the design on that, pretty much all of the design on that game I did, and it's the first time I've ever really been acknowledged for not the art bit. Like up till then, all of the things that most of the sort of praise for my work in video games has been for what they look for, how beautiful they are, for the visual art.
Yeah.
And this was the first time that I got some recognition for the non-visual side of it, and that meant really a lot to me.
Have you ever experienced a creative block, and when you experience this, how do you overcome them?
Yeah, this is a good question. Every single day, literally every single day, pretty much. And the thing that I always tell myself, the thing that I always say is that not being able to think of something or not being able to think of a good thing, it feels like you're wasting time, right? It feels like sometimes, I'll tell you, 2 days ago, Monday, I achieved very little on Monday. Everything I did, I just couldn't get my head in the right place, and everything went a bit wrong. And I ended up doing stuff that I ended up just throwing away. And, it's easy to see that as a wasted day and a waste of time and beat yourself up about that. But the thing I always like to think is that that time spent just staring at a blank piece of paper or doing things that you're not making things that you're not happy with is an essential part of the journey towards making a good thing. It's part of the process, and you just have to get through it and not beat yourself up about it. And the other thing that I always say is that if you can't think of a good idea, have a rubbish idea. Like if you can't make a good thing, just make something that's not very good. And keep doing that until a good thing comes out, because it's all just stuff. It's all, I feel like this is just like, you just have to squeeze all the ideas out of the idea tube in whatever order they come. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's a daily part of my life. It definitely feeling blocked and feeling like I can't quite grasp the thing I'm trying to think of or do is a daily thing for me, definitely.
As a creative person too, I 100% get you, and it's comforting to know that other people have creative blocks, because I know that's something I'm sure especially people like me with less experience and stuff do beat themselves up over. Because like you said, it feels like you're wasting time, but it's comforting to know that I'm not alone in that. How has COVID affected the way you work, or
right.
if it has?
Not very much.
Yeah.
I've been working from this desk in this room for 8 years already, and it's no different on my daily life. The only difference is so I work with another guy who's like my main sort of partner in making games, and I work with a team of people, but Ricky's like the main person who I sort of collaborate with on a long-term basis. And we used to meet, I would go up to London. He lives in London. I would go up to London maybe once a fortnight, and we'd meet. And we always used to meet in places like the British Library, or maybe go to a gallery or something. And he sometimes comes to Hastings, or did come to Hastings. And this last year, I've really missed that, especially because we're starting on a new thing, a new game, and we're at that stage where you really want to just be having new ideas and kind of sort of jamming on stuff together, and it's hard when you're not doing it in person. So that's been difficult, but generally day to day it hasn't really affected me that much.
Yeah, I get that. Especially on your career that's quite on its own, how you work. having like the other person for support and like bringing out new ideas is probably quite important. So
but you know, to put it in perspective, so many of my friends have got jobs that have been completely destroyed by it. You know, like I've got lots of friends that work in hospitality, and I've got friends that work in theatre, and they're just, you know, it's completely turned their world upside down. So I'm really grateful that it hasn't been like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Could you share 3 tips for sparking creativity or generating it?
Well, look at your old work. I sometimes do a talk to art students about sketchbooks, because I'm really nerdy about all my sketchbooks. And one thing that I often say in that talk is that the main use of sketchbooks is to go back and look at spend lots of time looking at your old sketchbooks, and quite often you can get ideas you can nick ideas from yourself in the past. Like there might be something you drew that you didn't even think. And this also works with writing, you know, or music. You don't have to be a visual artist. There might be something that you wrote ages ago that you didn't think was a good idea at the time. But it's really surprising how often when you go back, you see things and you think, wow, that's a really good thing. Why didn't I do more with that? So that's one tip. Another tip is to, this is really lame. I'm going to say go outside more. Go out, spend more time outside, walking around. But when I get so many of my ideas while I'm out in the Hastings Country Park or wherever, you know, walking. Third tip, sparking creativity, is collaborate. My third tip is going to be, don't. Obviously, this doesn't suit everyone. Some people like working alone, but I think working with other people is like bouncing ideas off other people is like a really key thing to what I do. I couldn't quite often I have all my good ideas while I'm talking to other people, you know, and I almost have to pretend that I've had the idea before, because it sounds a bit weird if I say that I've just had it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I just say, this is just literally just come into my mind now, it sounds like I've not really prepared, or it sounds like I'm just like making stuff up. But I sort of pretend that I thought of it before.
Yeah.
But I think that says a lot about me, the way that I think while talking to people and while thinking about things with other people is quite often when I'm the most creative. So yeah, they're my 3 tips.
I get the like old stuff a lot. I write songs and stuff, and I'll like write things down, completely forget about them, and then come back to them and be inspired again. And I feel like that is useful as well. Obviously, I'm not like an artist, so I wouldn't know in that kind of area. But I
think it's pretty universal, to be honest.
Yeah.
If you're doing anything creative, then surely there's something like that you can revisit.
Yeah, definitely. Have you got any projects that you're working on or that are in the pipeline that you could tell us about?
No, I can't. This is another weird thing about video games, right? Is that it's pretty standard in games that you don't say anything about what you're doing until it's time to announce it, and that is normally a decision made by. Well, for me, it's a mixture of it's a decision made by the people that are publishing our next game, and it's also, you know, we don't really, sometimes it's just the fact that you don't feel like it's something that you want to tell the world about yet.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, no, I can't, you know, I've just finished making a game and we've started on the next thing. And you know what, even if I was allowed to say, I probably wouldn't, because it's such early days. I don't even know what it's going to be called, and it might change so much, but I'm enjoying it. It's good. Yeah.
That's good.
Nice.
Yeah, I hope development goes well on it as it goes on.
Thank you very much.
I think that is all of the questions.